Story 1.
My sister's best friend made a cruel joke about me in her wedding speech, and now my sister is angry because I left the reception early. I, 27 female, was a bridesmaid at my older sister's wedding last week. The wedding was beautiful and everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid of honor, who has been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but then she made a joke about how I was the family screw-up who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid duties. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny. For context, I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health and dropped out of college for a while. I've since gotten my life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all our family and friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend and I never really got along, but still I never expected something like this from her. Especially the day wasn't about me at all. So why bring me up in this speech? I tried to stay composed, but I felt the tears coming. So I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said it was just a joke and she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't and I ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I do feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I had the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Edit. I said nothing in the moment because I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day and I can't reason with her right now because she will just ask me if I haven't been taking my meds lately. That's what she does when she's angry with me. So I'm giving her some time to maybe realize how her best friend's joke was out of line. Edit 2. Someone asked me if my sister's best friend and I argued before or if I gave her a reason to do this. My sister's best friend and I never went past hi. She told me before a few years ago that she in general doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because in her head God only knows what they're capable of since she said this. To this day, I just try to avoid her. Update 1 week later, the same day I posted, my dad called to check up on me and see if my sister and I had talked things out. When I told him no, he said, "It's better if we talked about it now," and assured me that I have nothing to apologize for. If my sister thinks she has nothing to apologize for, then the least you can do is make her best friend apologize or fully realize that the joke was out of line. By the way, my brother and I met 4 days ago, and he told me that brother-in-law, my sister's husband, didn't like the way the maid of honor called me a screw-up in front of everyone, and some of those who laughed voiced later that they did so out of nervousness. On Monday, my sister called me to talk when I made it to her place. Her best friend was on the phone and didn't put it down for a second. My sister started by saying that just a few years ago I would have laughed hard and not taken. The joke is an insult. I told her maybe some laugh because they don't know the reason she called me a screw-up. For context, when I was 16, something happened and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 and 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair in the back of my head and neck. My sister knows everything. During our conversation, my sister did most of the talking. At some point I felt like my sister had called me just to blame me again without trying to understand my perspective. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me toward her with each sentence as if to say, "Do you understand?" Or, "Okay." I hated it and felt irritated. I honestly kept thinking if I pushed her away, would I be in the wrong? Would they just call me mental and tell family I got physical? I tried to leave, but she insisted that no one was leaving until we sort this out. She told her best friend to just apologize. She refused and reminded my sister that I was the reason her husband got angry at her on their wedding day because I couldn't take a joke. And when I tried to explain why, I told her she had focused her speech on the bride and groom, then maybe he wouldn't have had a reason to be angry. She refused to listen and brushed my words off. She said, "Yeah, whatever, sorry." I was glad it was finally over, and as I was about to leave, I heard her say, "Can't take a joke that everyone knows is true." Both of them laughed, but my sister stopped mid-laugh and apologized. I didn't say anything and left. I think I've had enough. I mean, I know I've had a few rough years. I dropped out of college for a while, fine, but I've since gotten my life back on track. My parents helped me through it all and never made me feel like a burden. At first, I was on some strong meds that made me feel tired and sleepy most of the time. After a while, I started to feel a little better with therapy and my family support. During that period, it was me, my parents and my brother. My sister was 3 hours away for a job and used to visit sometimes and would often bring her best friend along with her. Looking back, I don't want to say she hates me, but I know she felt ashamed to have a family member struggling with mental health issues. I don't know how to explain this. I've made up my mind and decided to go. No contact for now. If my parents and my brother who were there when I was going through it all, never made me feel that they're ashamed of me, then why would she? I'm still on some meds, but feels much better than before. I have a stable job, my own place, and friends who love me for who I am. I can say I'm proud of myself a little. I love my family to death and try to maintain a relationship with my sister all these years, but I'm trying to improve myself, not constantly be reminded of what I was a few years ago. Thank you everyone for your advice and input. I didn't expect this post to get very much traction, but I'm thankful it did.
Story 2. I purposely left my girlfriend's closet door open despite her anxiety, and now she's not speaking to me after I told her to get over it. My girlfriend, 24 female, and I, 23 male, have been together for almost 3 years now. We get along well and didn't fight much, which is why I'm confused over the situation. My girlfriend lives in her own apartment and works full-time, whereas I am still living with my parents until I finish college. I was originally planning on moving in with my girlfriend into her apartment once she renews her lease until we had our disagreement. My girlfriend's place is pretty basic. I guess you can say it's got a modern and minimalist look. That is, until you go to her bedroom. There's a lot of these glow-in-the-dark stars all over her closet door and walls. I remember when I asked her about it, she told me that when she was young, she experienced a traumatic event to help with her anxiety. She placed the stars as a girl to help her see if there was a silhouette either in front of the door or if the door was open. I don't know if that makes sense. She said she only asked that I keep that door closed, especially at night. I was understandable about the situation. So when I first spent the night at her place, I made sure to check if the closet was closed while she slept earlier. Months went by and there were instances where I accidentally forgot to close it. She'd wake up the next day and ask me about it. Hey, did you forget to close the door last night? I apologized for it and she'd saying something like, please don't forget next time. I had no problem with it at first, though lately it's been getting annoying. It felt like that's all she wanted to talk about first thing in the morning. I voiced my feelings on it one day, and she just responded by saying, well, then please close the door. It's not that hard. I sometimes deal with sleep paralysis. I got irritated by that because it felt like she just wanted a reason to nag me. One day I went over to visit her and I decided to purposely leave the closet door open while she slept in her bed while I slept on the living room couch just to see what would happen. I assumed nothing happened since I didn't hear anything. However, the next day when I woke up, she was sitting at the kitchen table, looking as if she'd been crying since her eyes were puffy. Before I could even say a word, she said, I've told you many times that I wanted the closet door closed. It's all I ever asked of you, and you can't even do that. Here's where I might be the jerk. I got angry that she was already nagging me about this first thing in the morning. So I told her that she's a grown woman and can't rely on some dumb stickers to help her over something that happened to her years ago, and she needed to get over it. She told me to leave, so I did because I was mad. It's been a week since then and I haven't heard anything from her. I don't want to break up over this, but I want to know if what I said was wrong. My parents and friends are saying my girlfriend is being dramatic, but I want some unbiased opinions on the subject.
Girlfriend's Reddit post. I dumped my boyfriend for leaving my closet door open. My ex posted on Reddit and I just wanted a place to respond. My now ex-boyfriend and I were together for 2 years, would have been 3 years next month. We met through a mutual friend, my roommate at the time, because of our similar interests. For some context, I've lived in my apartment for about 4 years and the mutual friend was my roommate in the beginning, but they moved out 3 years ago. So since then I've been living on my own. I was originally going to have my boyfriend move in with me once my lease ended, but of course, change of plans. So my ex posted on Reddit asking if he was a jerk for leaving my closet door open. Yeah, he left out very important details. One question that kept appearing was why didn't I close the door even though I never leave it open? Ever since I was little, I've trained my brain to always make sure the closet door was closed. When I was 6, I was sharing a room with my older sister, and one night she went over her friend's house for a sleepover. My parents and I got home a bit late. I remember it being hot since we had the action. I went to bed but was tossing and turning because it's really hot. I kept hearing a noise from somewhere but wasn't sure from where and just assumed it was the AC. I laid on my back just staring at the roof and heard my closet door being opened. My bed was placed towards the closet, so when I moved my head down, I could see this old man coming out of it. I screamed and my parents came running in. My dad grabbed me and I saw my mom hitting that man with one of her favorite pans. We called the police and later found out that the man was homeless. Must have snuck in while we were away and hid in my closet when he heard my parents' car come in. Since then, I've suffered from PTSD and fear of someone coming in my closet again. I slept with my parents for a few years after that. We moved to another state once I hit high school. My parents got me a therapist when the incident occurred, and to this day, I'm still going to therapy. I felt like it wasn't working, though, because it just felt like I was venting and the therapist would go, huh? And how does that make you feel? Instead of suggesting something to help me, that was until my current therapist. She suggested that I could use something like a nightlight and place it by the closet, and I asked if I could use something else, like something that could stick to the walls. First it was this big glow-in-the-dark dinosaur stickers. I felt kind of silly about it at first when I put it up, but when I had sleep paralysis, I was still scared, but able to tell what was a dream and what wasn't, giving me a sense of comfort. I changed the themes occasionally to dinosaurs, planets and now stars. For the past 7 years, it's worked for me. I moved out of my parents' home at 20 to live in an apartment with my friend who I met in college. I only went for 2 years. I explained to her my situation because we shared a room and there was only one closet. She understood me completely. She only ever left it open once when she came home from a night shift. She was remorseful and never did it again when she saw how bad I suffered from it. Now that my ex, we pretty much clicked when we met. We had similar hobbies and liked exploring new foods. It was fun. I also told him about my trauma. I asked that I didn't mind it being open during the day, but at night it needed to be closed no matter what. He could still put or take something out of it, but he had to close it back up and he complied throughout our relationship. It wasn't until a few months ago that he started to act very controlling. He would make small comments about certain foods I would eat, like how it would affect my liver or something, and recommended other things. I brushed it off thinking he was just looking out for my health. It started getting to a point where he suggested I quit my job when he finished college and moved in. but I told him that it'd be beneficial for both of us to be working. He never asked again, but he did start asking things like if I could cook for him, even though I said I was tired from work. Would I stop working if he made enough money for both of us and if I still wanted kids? I think he wanted to ask me to become a stay-at-home wife or mother, but I could be overanalyzing. On the night before we broke up, when he decided to test me, I had the worst hallucination since I was a teenager. I wake up, see the door open, and start to imagine the man I saw all those years ago. When I woke up the next day, it was around 4 a.m. I was able to move and started to cry immediately, to a point where I couldn't shred any more tears. And apart from the migraine, from crying too hard, I felt the numbness. So when he woke up a few hours late, I waited for him in the kitchen, just honestly feeling tired. I didn't yell, just spoke in a monotone voice. I told him how I had one rule and that was to close the door. He got defensive, saying he felt like I was lying about my trauma just to see if he would care for me. I told him to leave while I thought things over. I never ignored him and he never texted me the whole week. But now I know for sure that there's no saving this relationship and you can get your stuff from your brother. I already told him what you did. So good luck. I'll be moving in with my sister out of town. I'm not renewing my lease. I just want to be with people who actually support me. Minor update. I booked a therapy session for the both of us so we can have a proper conversation. That does not mean we'll be getting back together.
Story 3.
My husband and I were thrilled about our planned baby girl until we discovered her severe birth defects. Now he wants to care for her, but I believe terminating the pregnancy is the kind of choice, and it's tearing us apart. This was a planned baby, and I'm absolutely devastated. Me, 31 female, and my husband, 30 male, met in college and have been married for 6 years now. We have one son who is now 4 years old. I know some people are going to wonder, but yes, we do discuss our moral and political views before even getting engaged, and we're both pro-choice. When we were 21 and 20, we made a stupid mistake that ended in the pregnancy. We were both flat broke and not at all ready for kids. I decided to terminate and he fully agreed with and supported me. He loves our son so much and is an amazing father. He confided in me that he loved the idea of having a daughter as well. Luckily, we were in a good financial place, so I agreed and we started trying for a second baby. We conceived fairly quickly and we're over the moon happy. We also soon discovered that we're having a girl. My husband was so excited. As soon as he was told, he went all out and started to plan her nursery. He asked our son to help him pick which shade of pink he wanted, which crib together with the theme should be, etc. It was also adorable. I don't want to reveal any personal medical history, so forgive me for being vague with the descriptions at our last doctor's visit. A few days ago, we were given the news that our daughter has severe birth defects. They think that she could possibly survive the birth, but any life that she gets to experience will be painful for her. There have been medical cases of babies with the same conditions to survive from early childhood to even the teenage years. Very rarely. These poor children suffer with so much pain and are uncomfortable their entire lives. They are very low functioning and need around-the-clock care, as well as several uncomfortable surgeries to try and give them a better quality of life. We were both heartbroken and cried for hours together in the car. Then we drove home in silence. Neither of us said anything until my husband began to quietly mumble his thoughts. He was going on and on about how we needed to schedule another doctor's appointment so we know what medical equipment we'd need to buy for her and we should renovate the nursery again so we could care for her more easily. He said that he definitely have to talk to his boss so he can take a longer paternal leave. He wants to be by her side in the NIC until we can take her home. He talked about how we'd have to ask his mom to babysit our son more often while she's a newborn. He even said that maybe we could sell one of our cars, move to a smaller house, and take our son out of private school so we'd have more money to pay for our daughter's care. I was silent until he asked me what I thought. I was blunt and said that I think we should terminate the pregnancy. Now I feel bad for saying it that way, but I was still frazzled from the news. This made him very upset. He began to cry and ask why I don't want our daughter even with disabilities. I mentioned our previous abortion. He said it was different because it was unplanned and we had no way to take care of the child. Now we're in a pretty good place financially, so theoretically we could shoulder the cost of our daughter. I have a bit of personal history with this type of situation. My best friend in high school was at my house all the time because her parents were way too busy with her severely autistic older brother. They did love her, but she was pushed to the side her entire childhood. I told him this story. He said that we do better by our son and daughter. My best friend's parents were done for having a second kid after they already had a disabled one. He then seemed hopeful for a minute and asked if I was just afraid. He promised that he'd be by my side the whole time, and we could do this together. I told him it's not about fear. Our daughter will be in pain constantly if she's born alive. It would be a short and painful life for her. I love this baby so much already. I don't want her to suffer like that. He began to yell that even if she doesn't live long, we could still pour our hearts and souls into making her life as fulfilling as possible. I didn't respond and he stormed inside. It's been a couple of days now, and he won't even look me in the eyes. He sits in the new nursery for hours. Our son is very confused. I know he's grieving, but I really don't want to go further with this pregnancy. I love him so much. I have no idea what to do now. Update 7. Days after the original post, after I made my original post, my husband and I rushed to get a second opinion. Nothing changed and it was still our originally diagnosis. Once I learned that I scheduled the termination for as soon as physically possible, I didn't tell my husband at first. He kept on reading about how we could give her as much love in her life as we can. I feel bad for this now, but I snapped and angrily told him I was terminating a pregnancy, that I know how he feels. but I will not allow my daughter to suffer just because he wants to love her. He was very angry with me after I put my foot down. After he realized his pleading wouldn't change my mind, he didn't speak a word to me. It was like he refused to even acknowledge my existence. I was terrified that he'd go and leave me all alone with the scraps of our family. I tried to explain it to my son, but I think he still doesn't understand. Then the night before the procedure, he stepped into my room and apologized for everyone and promised to be more supportive of me from now on. I was so happy and relieved. I started to sob and he hugged me all night. My original plan was that my mom would drive me to the hospital and once it's done, a close friend would take me home. Since it was only the night before, he said he couldn't miss a full day of work, but really wanted to drive me home. I agreed to let him, and then the procedure was done in the morning. My son is having a long sleepover with my best friend's family. I don't want him to see me like this. The next morning, the termination was done. It went fine with only minor physical pain, but the emotional toll was crushing. After I was done, he didn't show up to get me. I waited for hours and he wouldn't answer any of my calls. I ended up having to call a friend out from work to take me home. When we got there, I saw just one note on the counter saying, "He can't do this." A few of our daughter's special toys were removed from her nursery. My entire life has fallen apart in a matter of days. I asked my mom to watch my son for a little while. I still can't contact my husband. Everything feels so pointless.
Story 4. My girlfriend and I acted out a Harry Potter fantasy she told me about years ago, but it made her think of her ex and now she's not talking to me. My girlfriend is a hardcore Harry Potter fan, or at least she used to be. I remember during the honeymoon phase of our relationship, she mentioned one of her fantasies was a Harry Potter roleplay situation where she was a professor at Hogwarts that ends up being missed by one of her students. I didn't know what to do with that information at the time, but I thought it was funny and I never forgot about it. Less than 2 years later, I decided to bring out my inner wizard and figure out how to fulfill the fantasy my girlfriend always wanted. After completing my Harry Potter research, aka rewatching the movies, I called my girlfriend a few days ago and encouraged her to play along and avoid asking questions when she came over that evening. That was it. No spoilers. When my girlfriend showed up at my flat, I was standing in the lounge wearing a Harry Potter costume and pointing a wand at her. She laughed. I referred to my girlfriend as Professor and asked her if she remembered that spell she taught me during dark arts class that paralyzed people. My girlfriend was still laughing, but she eventually nodded in response to my question. I waved my wand and Petrificus Totalis, as my girlfriend struggled to stop laughing, but she managed to get into character and freeze instantly. As per my spell, I literally picked up my emotionless girlfriend and put her down on the couch. I proceeded to undress my girlfriend while telling her how much I've always wanted to sleep with a mud-blooded pumper full of pure blood seed. Not going to lie, I cringed on the inside when I delivered that line because it sounded silly. But then again I could tell my girlfriend was feeling it when I removed her. It was working. When I was done going down on my girlfriend, I waved my wine between her legs and said unimpregnate. I made her aware that I was going to penetrate her without protection and my made-up spell would prevent her from becoming a mud-blood MILF. I did the deed with my girlfriend in my wizard uniform. She forgot she was under my paralysis spell and broke character a few times when she was vocal and moved her body. But at that point we were both past the point of controlling ourselves and just did whatever felt good. The two of us finished really hard. Based on the outcome, I knew my girlfriend enjoyed what I did. However, post-not clarity left her with mixed feelings afterwards. My girlfriend said the fantasy was hot when it happened and she appreciated my effort, but replaying it in her head made her feel like we were acting too much like children to get ourselves off, and that was kind of giving her the egg. She never said it in so many words, but I sensed that she was low-key trying to tell me that she outgrew her Harry Potter fantasy and I was probably too late. Instead of letting it go and moving on, I revisited the topic last night. Almost a week since the fantasy, I decided to ask my girlfriend what I could do differently in case I wanted to surprise her with a sequel. My girlfriend signed and said I could just copy and paste what her ex-boyfriend did. She paused mid-sentence and looked at me like she suddenly realized she said something bad against my better judgment. I encouraged my girlfriend to finish her sentence. She said she didn't really care about Harry Potter prior to meeting her ex, who was the OG Potter fan. Apparently, she said his nerdy obsession with Harry Potter was endearing. I asked how endearing. My girlfriend dodged my question and said I should focus on the fact that she enjoyed the version of her fantasy I created. I asked what was her ex's version? My girlfriend said, if you really want to know, before telling me that her ex enjoyed playing the role of a Quidditch captain who ends up missing the game and losing the tournament because he was deep inside his wizard girlfriend. She said it was unexpectedly hot because her ex pretended to be reluctant and submissive, whereas she had to be distracting and dominant, which was new for her. She said she didn't know she could separate until she dominated her ex. I said I didn't know she could separate until now. My girlfriend awkwardly laughed it off and said I should be grateful. I've never made her because she always hated the cleanup. I asked my girlfriend why she would plant the seed of a Harry Potter roleplay fantasy at the beginning of our relationship if her ex already did a better job. She rolled her eyes at me, saying better job, and said she was still somewhat high on her ex during our first few dates and wanted to recapture the same magic from her previous relationship. But she eventually fell in love with me and forgot about her ex and his Harry Potter bullcrap until recently, when she saw me in my Harry Potter costume, which automatically made her think of her ex. I should have stopped asking questions, but for some reason I couldn't. I asked my girlfriend if she was feeling it during the fantasy roleplay because she saw me in the Harry Potter costume or her ex. She said nothing. I asked if the act she was feeling afterwards was not really the EC, but the guilt of knowing she was thinking of someone else fulfilling her fantasy instead of me. My girlfriend said she was going to go and she did. I didn't stop her. Now she's not responding to my messages or my calls. Update 1 year later, my girlfriend and I were talking about weird, intimate experiences the other night, and I made the mistake of mentioning that not only did I literally dress up as Harry Potter before making love with my ex, but I also pretended to actually be Harry Potter during it. I explained to my girlfriend that my attempt at role-playing backfired on me when my ex-girlfriend revealed that her ex-boyfriend also played the role of attorney Harry Potter when the two of them were intimate. And based on the fact that he apparently made her, which I never did, it became clear to me that the ex-boyfriend did a better job with his magic wand than I ever did with mine. My girlfriend unexpectedly hugged me at the end of the story and said, There, my love. Don't be sad." I was not sad. Mid-hug, my girlfriend suggested that I redo my Harry Potter roleplay with her so that I could have a positive, intimate experience to associate with Harry Potter. I said no need. I've moved on. My girlfriend refused to accept that and said she wanted to see me as attorney Harry. I said that was never going to happen because the last girlfriend who saw me as attorney Harry unfortunately became my ex-girlfriend shortly afterwards. My girlfriend put her hand between my legs and convinced me to reconsider roleplaying as Harry Potter. Cut 2. Later that week, my girlfriend and I agreed to do the roleplay thing at her apartment because she lived alone and I did not. So there I was, standing in the hallway in my Harry Potter costume, practicing made-up spells while waiting for my girlfriend to open the front door. The anticipation of lovemaking was beginning to trigger a sniffy. By the time the door finally opened, the shape of my sniffy was somewhat visible. I didn't think it would be a problem until I locked eyes with the person who opened the door. It was not my girlfriend. It was her mother. I covered my crotch with my wizard robe. As soon as I realized who was looking at me, the mom struggled to stop laughing when she caught me covering up. My girlfriend appeared moments later and begged her mom to please stop laughing and go away. Her mom, who now had her hand over her mouth to hide how hilarious this was for her, apologized for laughing and said, "I must be the new boyfriend." I said yes. My girlfriend sarcastically thanked her mom for showing up unannounced just before I arrived, which prompted her mom to congratulate her for finding her own girlfriend. For once, instead of ending up with her sister's exes, her mom looked at me and said, "No offense, but her other daughter was too old to still be into Harry Potter, and therefore it was safe to assume that I was not one of her exes." My girlfriend apologized to me on her mom's behalf and said her mom was being a jerk because her job got botched. Her mom pointed at me while warning my girlfriend that I was an unplanned pregnancy waiting to happen based on what she saw when she opened the door. I said that was not what it looked like. The mom said it looked like Harry Potter and the failure to pay child support. My girlfriend didn't allow her mom to stay any longer when she said that. Needless to say, my girlfriend was no longer in the mood to screw Harry Potter. We decided that horny Harry is a curse for couples and should be excluded from any fantasy we might practice in the future.
Story 5.
My oldest daughter threw a party that led to awful things happening to my youngest, and now I can't forgive her. I feel resentful of her. To start off, I'm a widow and have 3 children, but in this post I'll be focused on my 2 youngest daughters, Leah, 14 female, and Maya, 18 female. For a little background, Leah was SA'd by 4 men back in December. How this incident accrued was Maya threw a party while I was working the night shift, and 4 of the boys that were attendants at this party SA'd Leah. It's been devastating, to say the least. Leah has lost all of her spark and quick cheer. Plus, on top of that, she opted out of her freshman year by just continuing to do courses online. She doesn't sleep in her room anymore, but with me and just wears my late husband's hoodies all day. And I feel so helpless as a mother because I don't know how I can help her. Throughout the investigation, a lot of things came out regarding Maya's part in this. She did not set up her little sister. However, I feel like she severely neglected her, and all of this could have been avoided if she just followed my rules. I never approved the party. I left her in charge of watching Leah. And before you guys say, well, you're her mother, it's not her job to watch your kid. But the thing is, it was her job. I pay her really well to look after her sister while I work nights. It's been an agreement we had for years. Leah is not special needs in any way. The only thing I ask of Maya is that she makes sure her sister does her homework and gets to bed at a reasonable time. The minute I say Leah, Maya invited herself. She knew them personally and knew they were affiliated to gangs and didn't care. Instead, what I found out in this investigation is that she tried to get Leah with one of these boys, and Leah was not interested. This boy was harassing Leah all night, trying to get her to kiss him. Then Leah had enough and went to her room, and the moment Maya left the house to go to McDonald's, that same boy and his friends went up to my daughter's room and SA'd her. The worst part about this to me is that people that were at the party heard her yelling and did not do anything, but just assume a couple was arguing upstairs. We didn't know what happened until the next morning when the party was over. Having her do a kick was traumatizing for her and probably the worst moment as a parent for me. Then a couple of weeks later, she tested positive for a curable STD. My baby has been so broken ever since, even though they did get those boys and all 4 pleaded guilty because they had evidence on their phone. But it's still so extremely hard for Leah right now. Maya, on the other hand, has been remorseful and Leah has no animosity towards her and doesn't blame her. She still loves her sister, but I don't know why. For me, I'm so angry at Maya and I've been really trying to forgive her, but I can't as of now. I can't even look at her without not wanting to lash out. Her promise next weekend, and I honestly couldn't care less. She tries to have conversations with me, but it's hard for me to show any interest in them. I don't hate my daughter. I still love her, but I just have strong dislike for her right now. I've been reading self-help books, trying to learn how to address this properly. I feel like I can't open up to anyone about this in life. I guess this made me cry for help as a mother. Edit. The most repetitive question I'm seeing is if Maya still watches Leah? The answer is hell no. I don't trust her anymore and it might take years to get it back. I'm on a leave of absence currently. Also, Leah is not in therapy as of right now. She expressed to me she's not ready for that. I think after the sentencing she might be open to it. Maya is also in therapy, but skips a lot of appointments. And I'm in therapy too. And it's been helping me remain calm throughout this situation and not want to lash out at Maya. But the number one advice that I'm seeing and here that I'm strongly considering is sending Maya to my parents' house for a while and get some space from her. Second edit, for the ones asking if Maya is in a gang. To my knowledge, she is. And the most I have ever caught her doing was doing zine vaping. I also don't want to think Maya would ever intentionally set up her sister to be brutally. So I'm leaning towards Maya, genuinely, was being plain neglectful that night. Also, I feel like it would have came up in the investigation if she intentionally set up Leah. Also, the boy Maya was trying to set me up with was 17 at the time. He's 8 now and the other 3 were grown men. Update 1. Week later. A lot has progressed in the past couple of days and it would be only right to update you guys on what happened. But to answer multiple questions I received from my last post asking why hasn't Maya been further punished? To put it quite simply, Maya was arrested the night of Leah's attack. She was charged with felony child endangerment and 2 misdemeanors. The judge was very nice to her and made her pay a $2,000 fine, 60 hours of community service and 3 years probation. Plus, I took her car, but after this update, I maybe should have given her a harsher punishment. But back to the update. On Thursday afternoon, me and Maya got into a fight. The dispute happened because Leah came to me virtually upset and on the verge of tears because 5 people messaged her that day expressing condolences about her attack. Leah has been very clear. She doesn't want anyone that she knows to know that she was the victim of the attack. Upon further investigation, it turns out Maya told a group chat of 27 people that Leah was the victim. Leah vocalized to me how humiliated she feels and that she can't ever go back to school next year. I, of course, then go confront Maya about it. She kept saying I was overreacting and that Leah was being dramatic. I tried to reason with her to see how she hurt her sister, and she did not see the issue. She stopped me off and had lecture from me and said, "Jesus Christ, Mom, you need to let her deal with this crap instead of always rushing to her defense. Leah is not different from other women in the world that deal with SA. At least they don't make it their entire personality like she does. Also, she's fine." I literally overheard her talk to a boy on the phone last night. It just clicked for me at that moment that she was not actually remorseful at all. And then I just witnessed her mask slip. I just responded with "pack your crap up" and that she will be staying with my parents until I allow her back. That's exactly what she did. But the next morning I got a text from Maya to meet her at her therapy appointment. That was later that day. Looking back, I wish I had never gone because her therapist, the majority of the visit only saw her point of view. But at the start of the appointment, it opened up with Maya apologizing and explaining her thought process of why she told her friends. And it was because she was venting. Plus, she didn't think of it as a big deal because it's a public case that was on the news. And Leah seems fine these days. Leah is listed as a Jane Doe and not named nowhere. But I digress. We then get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Maya then tells me in front of the therapist that she feels emotionally neglected by me and that I never seem to care about her trauma. When it came to the situation, which is for her, is having to stay in jail for a weekend and losing one of her friends, which is one of Leah's literal assaulters. I wish I can say I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. We were talking about that for the first 30 minutes. Her therapist was guilt-tripping me for not being more emotionally there for Maya and that I should try to see as her mom, since their father is no longer with us. The comedian, also parent, but I don't want to be emotionally there for Maya because it involves me having to help her mourn the friendship of the person that ruined her sister's life. The therapist was on one, especially since she kept referring to what happened to Leah as an accident, or that Leah seems happier these days because that's what Maya has been telling her when she is quite literally high off antidepressants and still scores extremely low on the mental health evaluation. But I finally just had an outburst. Feel free to skip over the next paragraph because there is a massive trigger warning. I get very graphic here, but I'm just reiterating what I said. What I said to both Maya and her therapist was I think it's kind of disgusting that the two of you are refusing to acknowledge Leah's trauma in this and keep referring to it as an accident. You spent a weekend in jail while your sister was in the hospital suffering from something your friend did to her. Ironically enough, if you ever listen to Leah, she has said that friend of yours was the most violent towards her during the attack and was a catalyst for the majority of injuries she sustained, including strangling her. So for you guys to sit here and berate me for not caring that you lost your friend because of something terrible your friend did to your sister is absolutely disgusting. My biggest regret right now is helping you obtain a lawyer. I should have let you rot in that cell and let you figure it out yourself. Maya started sobbing in the office at this point and saying it wasn't fair that I blamed her for what happened to Leah. She told me the only thing she was trying to do was have Leah come out of her shell because she kept hovering next to her at the party. The therapist then interjects and asks Maya, how did Leah respond to her when she apologized? Maya, in such a defensive manner, says, apologize for what? I didn't essay her. Even the therapist was shocked when she said that, and at that point I heard enough and stood up, threw my hands up and left. I haven't spoken to Maya since then, and this was Friday afternoon. Maya has been texting me and calling me, begging to come home so she can apologize to both me and Leah. But I don't know at this point. I never thought I would be the parent that will have to go no contact with my daughter, but I don't know if I can stomach being around her. I can't trust her, and she's not remorseful whatsoever about what happened. A part of me wants to try to make it work for the sake of Leah, because she asked yesterday if she ruined our family, and that broke my heart. Leah loves and looks up to Maya, and I don't think she can comprehend at this time that Maya also failed her. I'm just stuck with tell me if I'm wrong for not understanding. Maya, I'm sorry for the not so happy update. Post number 3 a month after the original post. Would I be the jerk if I kept my daughter's inheritance from my late husband? I have 3 kids, 24 male, 18 female, and 14 female. My late husband died very unexpectedly 4 years ago due to COVID. He didn't have a will, but we had a life insurance policy that provided a $360,000 death benefit as a spouse. I received the full amount. I decided to divide the money 4 ways. I would get $120,000 and each of my 3 kids would get $80,000. At the time, my daughters were both minors, so I told them they could access their full amount when they turned 18. However, if they ever wanted to do something pricey, I would allow them to use some of their share. Most of their needs were taken care of by me. My son was over 18, so I gave him his share right away. This arrangement was a verbal agreement and I intended to follow through with it fully. Recently, however, my middle daughter Maya was arrested in December for child endangerment because she severely neglected her little sister, leading to something awful happening under her care. She had to use some of her $80,000 to pay for lawyer and court fees, which left her with about $65,000. Fast forward to today, and my youngest daughter is still struggling significantly during her checkups. She scores very low on mental health evaluations and is on a high dosage of antidepressants. She often jokes that if she were to tell us or the doctors how she truly feels, she would be put in a psych ward. Maya no longer lives with us as I felt her presence was doing more harm than good to her sister. She's staying with my parents for now, but has been begging me to give her the money I promised after she graduated. I've been hesitant to do so. My sister, who is familiar with the situation, believes Maya doesn't deserve the money and that I should use it to stay home longer with my youngest, who will be alone during the day. Once I return to work soon, with my youngest declining mental health and school being out, I'm very worried about her. Maya is about to go off to college and I know most of the money would go toward that. However, I'm still very angry with Maya for the pain she caused her sister. I'm having a hard time making this decision. So would I be wrong if I kept her inheritance? Tiny update. I saw a couple of comments that told me I should ask Leah. I didn't flat out ask her like it was her call to avoid putting unnecessary pressure on her about what I should do. But she told me, "Mom, I think you should give it to her because I don't want her to be mad at me. She already blames me for getting kicked out. She still loves and cares about Maya. She doesn't blame her for what happened to her yet." The reason why I say that is because I haven't sat down with her and helped her fully understand what Maya did to her was wrong. And I'm honestly dreading it. She doesn't know what Maya has said about her, nor doesn't know the true details, why she was arrested. In her head, she thinks Maya was arrested just because she threw a party. Update 41 days after the original post, my daughter begged me to let her pass away. My daughter Leah has been having a tough time with the aftermath of her essay last December. This past week has been, particularly the worst for us. It started last Tuesday when a sheriff and another official visited our home. They informed us that one of Leah's is the one who filmed the assault, had shared the video within a group, and now it's circulating on parts of the dark web. The video was filmed in the newsroom. It contained identifiable objects that revealed where she went to school. I was devastated upon hearing this news. Leah's reaction surprised me. She didn't cry or show much emotion. Instead, she simply shrugged and said, "I figured before," just sitting there in silence. The officials reassured us that it's uncommon for perpetrators to surface in such cases, but they felt obligated to inform us for safety reasons. After they left, Leah resumed acting as if nothing had happened, almost overly cheerful. I attempted to discuss it with her several times, but she avoided the topic. This behavior persisted throughout the week until she unexpectedly revealed that she had written a victim impact statement and wanted to read it herself in court. Rather than allowing the prosecutor to do so, she felt that since there was no trial, only the charges against the SA were known, not the details of what she endured. Her statement is a detailed account of that horrific night, but she has yet to read it to me in its entirety because she breaks down in tears every time she tries. That moment was the only time I saw her express emotion all week until Saturday night. That evening, Leah appeared unusually cheerful again and mentioned going to bed early around 8 p.m. I didn't think much of it until I received the call from one of Leah's closest friends, Mother. She was concerned because Leah's last message to her daughter was a note expressing love and asking her to check on her. I rested Leah's room and found she had attempted to odd on Z-Quill. As a nurse, I knew she would recover, but seeing her wake up in the hospital was heartbreaking. She screamed, "Why couldn't you just let me die? I want to die, Mom. I'm tired of feeling their hands on me. I want it to stop. Please let me die." They had to sedate her, to calm her down. Following this, Leah was placed under a 72-hour psychiatric hold and subsequently transferred to a mental health facility with peers her age. The staff recommended extending her stay beyond the initial hold, but Leah has been struggling, especially with a male staff member, possibly a psychiatrist, who she says is asking invasive questions about her sexuality causing discomfort. Staff members informed me she isn't participating in group activities and appears standoffish. They even proposed restricting her ability to contact me. As a consequence, though, I requested they hold off on implementing such measures. I'm uncertain if the current inpatient setting is suitable, given Leah's apparent difficulty adjusting. Her plea for her to die continues to haunt me. It's a thought I just can't shake. Leah's best friend shared additional details Leah had kept from me. There's a hurtful rumor circulating that Leah let a train be ran on her, leading to her involving the police out of embarrassment. Children can be so incredibly cruel. As far as my other daughter, Maya, I haven't spoken to her in 2 weeks, but I did recently discover why Leah feels indebted to her. 2 years ago, I found inappropriate messages on his phone between her and Maya's ex-boyfriend. He expressed love for Leah and also compared her to Maya. He told her she was way prettier than Maya, and he liked that she still had her card. When I told Maya, she was furious and broke up with him, but she believes Leah had betrayed her by engaging with her boyfriend. Even though Leah was 12 at the time and her boyfriend was 17, Maya still avoided Leah for 3 months afterwards, and despite Leah's efforts to apologize, Maya still holds a grudge. Leah blames herself for damaging the relationship because of this incident. Now I find myself in the difficult position of deciding whether Leah is mentally prepared to speak at her daughter's sentencing. I fear she'll resent me for this decision, but I question if she's in a stable enough state to handle a potential traumatic event because these boys actually have character witnesses. Update: so I read a lot of your responses, and I agree. I don't think inpatient is for her, so I'll be getting her tomorrow when her 72 hours hold is up. I'm going to spend today researching on the right therapist for her that specializes in cases like Leah. As far as letting Leah speak at her sentencing, I'm conflicted on that still. I know I can't shield her from the world, but I just have the biggest fear that my baby will put her heart out in the courtroom, and it will be like Brock Turner all over again, and they somehow just get the minimum sentence.
Story 6.
My non-binary daughter got pregnant and now wants me to raise her baby as her own sibling because she says it's my fault. My daughter came to me at 16 and said she was non-binary, but only sometimes. Like some days she would feel more male than female and some days she would feel like neither. She wanted me to ask her every day what day it was and then refer to her as that pronoun of the day. I told her that wasn't going to fly. Growing up, I spent a lot of time on LJ, LiveJournal, during the old Bun Self and Zen Self See Yourself days. People who think this is new to this generation are fooling themselves. I told her that I would call her the pronoun she wanted and do my best to remember it day to day, but she was going to have to tell me what she wanted for that day. I wasn't going to play a daily guessing game. This went on for about a week or two until she finally seemed to grow tired or bored and just said I could call her her. Though she still identifies as non-binary, fine. At least when it was going on she wanted she or he or they. I'm sorry, but I couldn't have done fox self or fox them with a straight face. So that's the pronoun story. And looking back where I think things started to go off the handle, here's my real question. My daughter is now 18, pregnant and seems to have lost her goddamned mind. Or I'm just a jerk. You choose? This year has been a struggle. She wanted to take a break a year before she goes to community college but can't keep a job. Apparently, retail situations are too phobic against her non-binary state. My child looks dresses exactly as a young adult female. By the way, when I ask how people are being phobic against her, she gets as prickly as a cactus, so I really don't know the details. She's been through 4 or 5 jobs this year. Quit all of them. She won't consider call centers that aren't face-to-face because she doesn't like to talk on phones and is apparently looking for a remote job without any luck. She's been unemployed since Thanksgiving. She quit her last job on Black Friday, in fact. And I was on the verge of laying down the law telling her she either needs to go to school this upcoming semester full-time or get a full-time job or move out with her friends. But now she's come to me. She's 5 months pregnant. She's very angry at me, says it's my fault because 1. I didn't put her on puberty-blocking hormones when she came to me 2 years ago. 2. She believes I am, in fact, trying to feminize her by getting her birth control, the pill. She's been throwing her prescription away. 3. This is where I might be the jerk. I call her a little idiot. We don't use that sort of language in my house. And I never call people names, especially my own child. But at that moment, I could just see red. The hormone thing is a non-issue, in my opinion, because this is the first time I ever heard of her wanting hormones. What was I supposed to do? Go back in time. As for the birth control, it's also the first time I'm hearing anything about this. There are non-pill options that don't have estrogen. If that was her, I want. All she had to do was ask, and I would have driven her to the doctor myself. Or she could have taken the car. She hasn't done it. She has her own medical card, even though, to be fair, I don't know how she would have managed the copay without a job. I know for a fact her old high school gave out free protection like candy because her friends were always giggling over flavored sample packs and even blew a few of them up like balloons and left them around the house one time. She had all the birth control she could ever want and used none of it. It gets worse. We're way past the date of abortion. Again, I would have helped her if this had been her wish. We live in an abortion-protected state and can afford it. She has known she was pregnant since about 2 months and has come to think of her baby like a sibling. She expects me to raise it like it was mine, that this is my duty. In fact, because, she says, it is my refusal to accept her non-binary state that led to her being pregnant. So she was going to get a brother or sister and I was going to have another child. You can see my language grew stern. A diversions of get your head out of your body and congratulations, mommy. You have some hard decisions to make. And I said I would absolutely not raise her baby for her. She also refused to say who the father was. Now that I've cooled down, I'm really hoping she has a secret boyfriend. She does have some friends who were born male, but now also don't identify that way. We didn't even get there as I lost my mind when she said she thinks of her own baby as a sibling and wants me to raise it like my own child. She's locked herself in her room, loudly wailing. I feel like crap warmed over. She's been in there for 12 hours and she has an attached bathroom. Probably won't be coming out until she gets hungry. Considering it's been half a day, I think she has snacks stored. I also don't know where to go from here. Being pregnant sucks and messes with your head, so I'd like to blame that in the fear she must be feeling. But I have a bad feeling. Either raised a spoiled brat or someone with an emerging personality disorder. So I need to know from people who aren't emotionally involved and maybe some people who are more in tune with this whole non-binary thing than I am. What do I do to help while also making her responsible for her own child? How can I help my daughter? Except she must do basically the most feminine thing you can do. Give birth and possibly breastfeed, while being sensitive that she's non-binary? Am I just a big jerk here typing all this out? It feels like my daughter is lost in crazy town. I'm still not raising her baby, but at what point do I drag a legal adult to the hospital? Edit. It's the middle of the night and she has decided to pack some of her clothes and stay with one of her friends. One who I suspect is the baby daddy. Before she left, she told me that she already called the police and let them know that she was leaving of her own free will and was not in danger. Like I was going to report, an 18-year-old adult is a runaway or something. It was insulting. I told her she needs to work out details if she wants to adopt with the father, and she was welcome back home when she had a plan in place. It was short because I heard her on the way out. I think she just meant to leave without saying anything. Thank you for your kind comments and advice. Reddit. I'm going to sleep. Update. So this happened a few days ago, but I didn't update because I needed to get my head around it. It still doesn't make sense. My daughter finally unblocked me. She and the person who got her pregnant wanted to talk to me in a public place. We chose. I have, although I suspected I knew who her lover was. I was disappointed to find out because they have been a part of my daughter's friend group since high school and was the only one I ever had a problem with and kicked out of my house. They are trans now, but 2 years ago the friend group was watching a movie in the living room and every time I passed by he then, would lock eyes with me and make really obnoxious, loud, intimate. Sounds like that scene in Harry Met Sally. I told him to knock it off and grew sterner when he did it again. Then when I was in the kitchen, he somehow snuck up behind me and was miming self-pleasure movements with his hand. I turned around and caught him at it. He was still fully clothed, but it was startling and freaky. I kicked him out, so now I'll just call them the manga stoner because that's what they are. I'm still calling my daughter, and she because I still haven't been told not to by her otherwise. So get off my case on that. Anyway, the IHOP meeting was a mess. The donor sat with my daughter and went on the attack. The donor's points were: 1. I was poisoning my daughter by making her take birth control. I only helped her get the prescription and would have done everything I could if I knew she didn't want to take the pill. There are other methods. 2. It will take years to fix my daughter. After all, I did, not giving her hormones, even though I had no idea that was what she wanted. She dropped even wanting to change her pronouns after a few weeks. 3. Abortion is a sin and I am monster for suggesting it. It's past the date anyway. 4. I am further abusing her by not taking care of the baby while she fixes herself. I guess they meant it as a tense situation, which was also new to me. So apparently, even though I'm an abusive monster, a bad mother, and so on, I'm even worse for not taking in their baby. At least no one suggested that I raised it like my daughter's sister anymore. That might have been my daughter's thought on it. The donor did most of the talking while my daughter just sat in, glared at me, nodding along. It was kind of a whirlwind. Donor pounded the table a few times, and even the waiter knew not to bother us after drinks. Well, I'm surprised we weren't asked to leave. There was a lot said, mostly by the donor who really seemed to be steering the ship. I asked why the donor couldn't take care of the baby, and they said their parents were even worse than me. I guess my daughter and sperm donor taking care of the child they created is out of the question. I told them that I would not be raising their baby for them and that adoption is the best bet. They said that if I don't agree to raise it, they'll make sure I'll never see the baby ever. I won't raise their child for them. So that's that. I guess I feel so many flavors of worried and angry and then worried all over again. I've been around the block and it's never a great sign when the person you're with makes an enemy of your family. That's what the donor has done by painting me as an abuser and failed mother who also won't take in their baby. Sounds like the donor has cut themselves off from their own family too. So I'm worried. My daughter is in a very controlling relationship with someone who convinced her to stop birth control because they think hormones are too feminizing somehow and that she needs to be fixed. But they still want me to raise their baby. I'm angry that my daughter can just hear this crap and nod along like, yeah, that makes total sense. She's not stupid. I think she's love blinded. I'm sad and worried for the baby. A couple of commenters suggested I wanted nothing to do with the baby because I wouldn't agree to raise it as my own. No, in a perfect world, I would want a normal grandmotherly relationship, or at least know that the child is safe and has been adopted into a loving family. I don't care what my daughter does with her gender or her body, as long as she doesn't hurt herself. I want her to be in a happy relationship with someone who values her for who she is. The donor kept using the word fix, which I see as another terrible sign. It's that all around my house is empty. It feels like my adult daughter has run off to join up with some weird cult thing. Who tells her that up is down? That not using birth control and not getting an abortion and then expecting others to take care of the child is all a-okay. Oh, and that she's a problem that needs to be fixed. I texted her and said I would be there for her, but the donor was still not welcome in the house. I think I'm blocked again. She's a legal adult. I'm not sure what else I can do at this point in my low points. Part of me thinks maybe I should agree to take the baby and then immediately make sure it's adopted into a loving home, but I get the feeling that the donor won't make that easy. And right now, my daughter does what he says. Also, I'm not sure if that plan is even possible. It sounds Hollywood. I have an appointment to speak with a counselor, but the soonest I could get is April. Some of my friends think I should take the baby in order to get them away from the parents, or because they think it's my duty, or both. The only silver lining in this was that they both seem sober. I don't think there's substances involved. Am I reading this wrong? Am I the jerk here? New update. 3 months later, I logged in and received a large amount of requests for an update. Unfortunately, I do not have one. I have not seen or heard from my daughter since the last meeting, and I believe she has changed her phone number. Our community is in a large one, and I have heard through the grapevine she is staying with a donor in one of the homeless camps out in the woods, as this is a haven for substances and trafficking. This is a further concern. From what I've heard, she is pregnant. Myself and a few friends and family members have driven through the camp area a few times on the lookout for her, but it's very large and there aren't exactly marked roads. Also, recently, other people have been shot at while walking their dogs around there or riding ATVs, so every time we go, it's a risk. So that's it. I'm stuck hoping she's safe and under some kind of shelter. There are a lot of plywood houses and broken down RVs out there, and waiting to hear news when she has the baby. Yes, CPS and the local police are aware of my concerns. I'm worried the child will be born addicted to substances because I don't know anyone who doesn't live out there who isn't had. Thanks for your concern. Oh, I'm unsure what I'll do when the baby is born. I might have to take in the baby after all, just to make sure it doesn't live in that camp, and it may make me the jerk, but I am not looking forward to the hard work and drama that will come with it.
Story 7. My wife called her male best friend her soulmate, and now I feel like I'll never measure up to him. My wife, Emily, met her best friend, Corey, in high school. They became close friends, and Corey came out to her as gay. Of course, she was supportive. A year or so later, Corey came out to his parents. They disowned him and kicked him out, and Corey ended up living with Emily and her parents for the rest of high school. My wife and I started dating after college, and she told me all about Corey and how close they were and how he was like a brother to her. I finally met him and we got along and became friends. He's a really good guy. At the time, Corey was dating a guy and they ended up moving in together about the same time that Emily and I got engaged. Emily and I have been married for 5 years now. I'm a project manager and took on a year-long project in another city. I have to leave 5:30 every morning and get home around 6:30. Emily and I had a long talk about my job before I took on this project. We knew it would be a sacrifice for me to be working so much, but I'm getting more money than I ever thought I would. After this project, we can pay off our student debt and start trying for a baby. We both agreed the money was worth it, since it's only a year. That year will be up in late November. In March, Corey caught his boyfriend cheating. He was devastated. Emily immediately told him he could move in with us. I was fine with him moving in, but not happy that Emily didn't even discuss it with me first. Corey was pretty broken up, and Emily was giving him lots of love and attention. I was fine with it because I know how much she loves Corey, and he did need her. I also did my best to support him and make him feel loved. For a while this was fine, but as time went on, Emily has continued to pour all of her attention into Corey. Sometimes I get home from work and neither of them are there, and I found out they went to a movie or out to dinner together. I don't think there is anything romantic or intimate between them, but it has been annoying that I get left out of all the plans. The past few weeks, several things have happened. The three of us went to a party and someone joked about Corey being a third wheel and Emily said, "Corey is not the third wheel." I said, "What?" And she said, "I've known Corey longer than I've known you." A week or so after that, Emily and Corey went out dancing one night. I had to work the next day, so I stayed home. I woke up at about 3 a.m. and my wife was not in bed. I went and found her, and Corey cuddled up on the couch, asleep with the TV on. Both of those things made me uncomfortable. I also realized I had been working so much. I was just sort of letting Emily and Corey plan everything, and I had not planned a date night in a while. I decided I needed to be more active, and so I planned a date night for last Friday. When I first told my wife, she was excited as we have not been on a date, just the two of us in a while. Friday I got home at 6:30 and Emily and Corey were not there. I took a shower and got ready about 7:15 and rolled around and I finally called my wife as we had reservations at 8. She answered, and when I asked where she was, she said her and Corey had gone shopping and were getting some dinner. I was kind of stunned and asked about our date. She laughed and said, "Oh, I forgot." Oh, well, and that was that. She didn't even invite me to join them. So a point I should make here. My dad was very controlling of my mom and had an anger problem where he would yell and throw things. He never threw things at us, but it was still scary as a kid. I have worked very hard to not be like him. I've tried to never be controlling of my wife or tell her what to do. I also tend to shut down when I get angry. When Emily forgot our date, I was mad, so I didn't say anything right then, but I knew I needed to address how I was feeling. So later that evening, I told her we needed to talk. I had written down some things so I could stay focused. I started by saying that I loved Corey and he was always welcome in our home. but that I felt like our marriage was suffering and we needed to work on us. Well, she blew up. She thought I was attacking Corey. I guess I didn't word things very well, and she started defending him and attacking me. We have never had a big fight before. We always talk and work things out. I was stunned that she was attacking me. She said some awful things. Then she said, "Corey is my soulmate and you just have to get used to that." I just shut down. I didn't even know how to process that. I love Emily more than anything in the world, but in that moment, I realized she loves Corey more than she loves me. I thought we were soulmates, but to hear her say she considers someone else her soulmate has been devastating. I don't remember the rest of the talk. She huffed off after a while and slept on the couch. Her and Corey left together on Saturday and were gone most of the day. When they got back, she acted as if nothing had happened. On Sunday, she even made a small joke and batted her eyes at me, something she does when she's flirting with me. Normally I love it, but this time it just made me sick. I told her this was a busy week at work and I was just going to stay at a hotel near the job site, something I've done a few times before, so I haven't seen her since Sunday night. I don't know what to do. Typing all of this up has made me realize I'm really burned out with all of this travel. Maybe I checked out too much and haven't given her enough attention. But how do I move forward knowing she will never love me as much as I love her? Minor update. Seeing a bunch of comments from women who say they have more than one soulmate has given me hope. To me, you only have one soulmate. But that's not a word Emily or I ever really use, and I just really hope she means it different than how I took it. We've been texting back and forth some this week and we spoke on the phone last night. It wasn't anything big. She just called and said she missed me and couldn't wait until I got home. I'll be home tonight. I told her we should talk about our fight last Friday, and she agreed and said she hates that we fought and we need to work it out. She said she loves me. We will be talking tonight, and I guess I'll find out where I stand. Update. I made my first post on Thursday when I took the time to think about it all and type it all out. I realized how burnt out I have been with this work project. Friday morning I met with my team and scheduled some time off coming up soon. I'm in a much better headspace just knowing I have that downtime soon. Emily and I had our fight on a Friday night. Then I left on Monday and stayed out of town all week for my project. During that time, we did text back and forth every day and we talked on the phone a few times. It was awkward because we both knew we needed to have a big talk, but over the phone was not the time or place. Emily texted me this Friday and said Corey was gone for the weekend so we could spend time, just the two of us, and that she wanted to make up for our missed date. I got home Friday evening and we agreed to talk before doing anything else. I had written out everything I wanted to say and she sat and listened. We talked for a long time and we each went back to some things to get clarification. So I'm not going to try and replay everything we said, just the main parts and the way that makes the most sense. I told her how I didn't like her joke about me being the third wheel and how much it hurt that she forgot our date and then how crushed I was that she said Corey was her soulmate. There were some other little things too. When I was done, she said she was sorry and she was wrong for saying those things. She said, "I'm not the third wheel and I am her soulmate," and she asked if she could explain why she did and said what she did. When Corey's parents first kicked him out in high school, he was in a very bad place and had considered taking his life. He told my mom and they got him help. So when Corey called in March about his boyfriend cheating on him, Emily had freaked out and was afraid he was going to hurt himself. She said she felt like she needed him close so she could watch him and keep him safe. I have made a comment about how for the past 6 months it seems like her and Corey were living their best life together, and she said that she has been miserable this whole time, that she has been on the verge of a nervous breakdown. After our fight, she knew she was wrong and realized she needed to get help and let it go. She talked with Corey and he promised that he was a stronger person than he was in high school and promised that he was not even thinking about hurting himself. They agreed it was best if he moved out both to give my wife and I time to work on us, and so she wouldn't be obsessing over when he was coming and going. Emily wanted to talk to me last Sunday, but I had said I needed time and she wanted to give me space. It was a long talk with lots of tears. She apologized a bunch of times. She said she was so concerned with Corey's mental health that she attacked me because she thought I was going to make him move out and she was lashing out. She acknowledged that she hurt me and said she loves me and she wants to work on herself and find ways to deal with fear and worry in a healthy way. We have never really had a big fight before, and we both agreed we could have handled it better her by not lashing out at me, by not shutting down. We agreed to start couples counseling to help us learn how to disagree in a more healthy way. We were both emotionally drained after the talk, so we just ordered some food and stayed in. We cuddled in bed to watch TV, talk and just be together. We have missed each other a lot these past few months and it was really nice to just hold her. The next day, Saturday, we took a day date. We went to breakfast, went shopping, saw a movie, and even got pedicures together. My toes look amazing. Several times throughout the day she would just stop and look at me and say she had missed me and she was so sorry she had pushed me away. Today, Sunday, we called Corey, who was staying with another friend. He said he was sorry he had caused so much stress for Emily and me. He acknowledged he had been focused on himself and not even realized that we were not doing well. He said he loved us both and is so grateful that we let him stay while he was getting over his breakup. He is looking at a few places and plans to be out in the next week or two. He did offer to move out right away, but I'm okay with him staying a little longer. I think having a plan in place is the most important thing. Our relationship took a hit, but we love each other and we are going to work on it. We set some boundaries and also agreed to always make each other our top priority. I have a few more months left on this project, but are going to make a point to go on a proper date at least once a week and reserve some cuddle time on the weekends. Thank you to everyone who replied or sent me a message based on my first post. I got some really good advice. I am hopeful this experience will make us better and make our relationship stronger.
Story 8.
My son filed harassment charges against me and my husband because I demanded he pay back the money he wasted instead of using it for college. Me and my son, 19, now moved to the United States last year. I was a single mom for 6 years before I met and married my husband. I saved up money so he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I am used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans of going to college before his high school graduation. Me and my husband took him to several universities in the States so he could get a feel for which one he would like to go to. Then, after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. He said it is not going to fit because tuition is pretty expensive nowadays. I suggested he can just go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money. He agreed, and I gave him access to the fund, joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade and I am upset that he wasted it in less than a year. Me and my husband went to his place and asked that he pay me back, since it is specifically for college and not fun money. He called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because the whole time I was talking to him through his ring cam, I was calm and reasonable and my husband was just standing behind me, not saying anything. I was outside the door talking. He never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed. He can file a restraining order if he wants to. Back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parent like this. But here in the United States, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it is my fault for confronting him and that the money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. Am I wrong? Edit. People cursing me because I said something about wanting to throw my chancla in my son's face. To be clear, I have never laid my hands or my flip-flops on him ever. But after what he did, my intrusive thoughts wants me to throw it. But of course I won't. If you call the cops on me just because I want to talk to him, what more if I threw my flip-flops on his face? His relationship with me before moving to the United States was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mom, and he always tried to help me around the house. I was not strict at all. He was free to go out with friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure, and my husband always tried to make him feel included in everything. Update: I still have not heard from my son and I don't expect him to reach out. But his girlfriend's mother has called me, asking if my house is still open to him. I asked her why and it turns out he hasn't paid his share of the last month's rent and his girlfriend had to pay it for him. I said it is not my problem and he is not welcome anymore in my house since he is an adult. The girlfriend's mom said, what kind of mother would not extend help to his teenage son? She further insulted me and said, now she knows why he left me. At this point, I really don't care anymore. I tried to help him get a good start in life, but he wasted it. Aside from the $20,000, he lived rent-free in the house. Free food, free phone, car, gas, money, and I paid all the utility bills and his health insurance. All I asked is that he focus on his studies and finish at least an associate's degree so he can get a decent job and be fully independent from me as soon as possible. For some who ask why college is so important to me as an immigrant, we are held under certain standards. We have to prove to USCIS that we will not become a public charge, meaning we won't rely on any government aid. I want him to be able to be a good immigrant and become productive. I don't even know if he can become a citizen if he makes below poverty income. I was just trying to make sure he gets to live a good life. Some of you asked if he even wanted to go to college back when we were in our home country. He begged me to please send him to college no matter what, so at least then he was totally on board. P.S. The harassment charge was closed for lack of evidence of harassment. A lot of what he said were lies. Edit. Another thing that gave me chills was when he moved out. It was the middle of the night and me and my husband were both asleep. My son left the front door hanging open. I saw it in the camera. We live in a small town, but there's a lot of crime in our area. Someone could have gone in and done something bad. Edit 2. People assuming things about my husband being an abuser. He is not. He is a very nice man, and it is insulting to even assume that he can be abusive. Also, he drives a truck for a living and is not home all the time. When he is home, all he does is catch up on his sleep or tend to his garden or hang out with me for a bit before he goes out again. I work from home so I know what goes on in the house all the time. We also have cameras inside that I can view anytime from my phone. I never saw anything out of the ordinary. Besides that, my son was always with his friends, rarely had a chance to spend time with me or my husband. Also, my son left in the middle of the night because prior to that, I asked him for a copy of his transcripts and receipts, and he most likely panicked because he made me believe he was taking classes. I have been bugging him for updates. Also, I didn't check the balance on that account because I didn't have the bank app installed. Boomer. Mindset sorry. And he also made the statement paperless. Again, he got the statement sent to his email. I have a separate bank account that I use for my personal needs. Update 2. His girlfriend's mom called me again today and basically handed the phone to my son too. Sorted out between us. I let him just talk and tell me what is on his mind. Here's a summary of his point of view. He felt like I deprived him of a lot of things growing up. I couldn't buy him an Xbox or PlayStation, iPhone or anything a teenager wants when we were in our home country. I couldn't afford it. Back then I was making $1,000 a month and saving 20% of it for his college fund and whatever was left was for us to live on. I was helping my parents too, with some groceries, so money was really tight. When I look back now, I don't know how I made it all fit. He felt so small because his clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins, which was cheap clothes I bought from two young guys. He said I was not supportive. Unlike his friends' parents, some of his friends had wealthy parents who bought their sons a house and never had to go to college or think about their future because they will inherit the family farm anyway. I have no generational wealth to be that supportive. I wish I did. He said. I have so many house rules. Yes, I do. I want him to wash his plates after eating. I used to do it for him. Clean his room and keep it tidy. Make sure the windows are tightly shut in the winter. Keep the thermostat at 68 during the winter to save electricity. Come home at 11 p.m. or else the house will be double locked from the inside for my safety, because my husband drives a truck and not home at night most of the time. I also told him before that since he has a part-time job, he can't use my credit card for anything but emergency anymore. But he still uses it sometimes anyway. The card's been frozen since he moved out. I asked him why file charges when I only wanted some explanation from him. He said he didn't want to inconvenience his girlfriend, and filing charges is the easiest way to get me to stop trying to talk to him. So basically he felt deprived as a kid and that he thinks he was just healing his inner child when he spent the money. He said his friends told him, I owe that to him for bringing him to this world. He thinks that I should not have a child if I can't afford these things. I asked him why he left the door open that night. He went silent for a few seconds, then said, I just thought that if the house got robbed, I could just say I cashed the money from the bank and the robbers must have found it. Unbelievable. At this point, I was so emotional and I was a crying mess. I told him I am deeply sorry that I was his mom and that he had to grow up feeling deprived because I was poor. Then he said, oh, stop with your guilt tripping. You are saying that to make me feel bad. Oh, and he also said he hates it when I beg him to get up and help me set the table. I never get a response, so I have to raise my voice higher. He said I was so rude, but he grew up with this. This is me being me. Alan's back home. Do this. All of a sudden, he's comparing me to his mom's friends. In our culture, we want food to be eaten while it is fresh from the stove. I spent 1 hour cooking after a long day at work. The least you can do is help me set the table and eat my food while it's nice and warm. I hung up. My heart is broken in so many pieces.
Story 9. I intentionally ruined my cousin and ex's wedding after catching them cheating, and it's brought me a lot of happiness. I once really looked up to my cousin. I thought he was a great guy and we were close like brothers. I was also dating a girl. I was deeply in love with her and planned to marry her someday. I thought my life was perfect. One day I came home early because a colleague offered to cover my shift. I was pretty tired, so I accepted and went home. When I got home, I found them in my bed being intimate. Both of them were shocked, to say the least. I told them I wanted them to be gone by the time I got back and left the house. They were gone by the time I did get back, but she left me a note telling me she was sorry and to call her when I'd calm down. I didn't call her. I texted her saying that I'd gather her things and drop them off at my cousin's in a few days and that she's staying with him now. Not me. I followed through with that. It took about a week to transfer everything. Both of them tried to apologize, but I didn't have anything nice to say to them, so I said nothing. I just knocked on the door and handed the bags to whoever answered before leaving. My cousin called me multiple times to try to apologize, but I refused to accept it. Well, 3 years have passed since then. I went no contact with them. I didn't bring it up to the rest of my family or any of their friends. I'm not sure why. I just didn't. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered. It was my cousin. He sounded really happy and was acting like he hadn't destroyed my life. He explained he and my ex were getting married and he wanted me to be his best man. I was so angry that he had the utter gall to act like nothing was wrong and lost my temper. I yelled at him and called him names before hanging up. He sent me a text telling me the offer still stood, and if I didn't want to be his best man, then he just simply wouldn't have one. A few days passed by and I had an idea. I texted him back and apologized. I sent a paragraph of bullcrap saying I was still angry, but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he'd pay for everything and he'd help me pick out a suit if I wanted, which I accepted because I sure as hell wasn't going to spend any money on a stupid wedding, if I could help it. The wedding day came. I had spent the week prior writing a speech, putting all the negative feelings that I bottled up over the years into words on paper. The wedding was pretty good. I'm sure one of them has some nice, well-paying job or something because they must have spent a decent bit of money on this wedding from how nice it was. Our entire family was there as well as decent chunk of my ex's family. Eventually, the time for my speech came. I just remember feeling really nervous as it built up to it, and my voice kept faltering when I was reading it out. But I didn't and still don't care. At least I got it out. I explained what these two horrible people had done to me. I called them the worst names I could think of and wished them the worst. Then I left. I was expecting some kind of dramatic moment from all the guests, gasps of shock and all that. But there was none of that. Everyone was silent. On my way home, I got a call from my mother, angrily telling me that I'd ruined the wedding, and both of them were so upset, and she asked me why I do this. I told her that they deserved it for what they'd done to me, and everything I'd said in the speech was true. She kept defending them, so I called her some nasty words and hung up. Since then, I've gotten several calls and texts from others in mine and my ex's family angry I ruined the wedding. I've also received a few texts from people who were there being supportive and telling me they were there if I needed to talk. I'm not sure if I feel better having done this, but it did bring me great catharsis when people were telling me the wedding was ruined. At least now they felt at the very least a fraction of what they've made me feel. Just a little added to address some common questions. As far as I'm aware, the rest of the family wasn't aware of her cheating on me. They likely knew we were dating at some point. Then we weren't. I've learned from previous stuff that I can't rely on my family for any kind of support, so I've been in low contact with them since I moved out of my parents' house, which is why I didn't mention this to anyone in my family. A lot of people are also asking for the speech transcript. I wrote it in a Google Doc and read it out from my phone. The delivery was kind of lackluster. I sounded like I was going to cry and tripped over my words, but I managed to read it all out. It isn't verbatim what I said, but it's very close. As I was reading from this, as a general script, hello, everyone. I'm not very good at public speaking, So apologies in advance. It's an honor to be at this wedding and an even greater honor to be the best man. I was shocked that I was even invited at all, since the last time I'd spoken to the bride and groom was when I found them screwing in my own bed. X's name was my partner at the time, you see, but I don't think she got the memo that when you're dating someone, you don't screw their cousins and your partner's own bed. And it wasn't like cousins didn't know we were dating either. Who knows how long this slimy pig was screwing her behind my back? Weeks? Months? For those unaware, X and I have been dating for 2 years. I loved her with all my heart and was actually saving up to get a proposal ring. Maybe if X wasn't such a whore, cousin would be giving this speech instead, and I wouldn't have been struggling with mental health for 3 years. Anyway, I've heard 50% of marriages end in divorce. I hope yours is a messy one. From the bottom of my heart, screw you both. You ruined my life, and I will never forgive either of you. Update 1 year later. Hey, some stuff has happened since the whole mess. That was my cousin's wedding. My mom tried to talk to me and said she saw the post I made. I pushed her away for a few days before finally speaking to her. I'm struggling to find words to describe how things worked out between us. The easiest way to explain it is that we agreed to disagree on whether what I'd done was right or wrong. I got a mix of messages from those who were present at the wedding, some supportive, some telling me off. I was struggling a lot. I've just gone back to simply functioning like I was before the wedding, after I came down from getting my own back. I don't at all regret what I did, and I still feel satisfied that I got payback. I was making plans to take my own life about a month after the wedding. I hadn't told anyone for obvious reasons, but my mom, uncle and cousin, same cousin whose wedding I ruined, came to me and told me they'd pay for a private counselor. Since the mental health department of the NHS is under-equipped, to say the least, I went to therapy and found a counselor who was very helpful. He taught me a lot. I got diagnosed with PTSD, caused by the discovery of the affair. He's been a big help and has encouraged me to give casual dating and try to build confidence in myself and get used to rejection as a normal part of life. I signed up to a few dating sites, although I'm avoiding Tinder like the plague. My counselor specifically suggested I stay as far away from Tinder as I possibly can. I've not been very successful in that avenue, but it's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I've talked to a few people and even got a date scheduled, but she stood me up and goes to me, which hurt. I'm doing good, though. Much better. I don't have self-destructive thoughts very often anymore. Whenever I'm feeling especially crap, I like to open up Reddit and read your supportive messages. That's all for now. I'll probably start using this account on a more regular basis, so you may see more of me. Another update anyway. Not a lot to update really. Hadn't had much luck with the dating, so I gave up. I finally went on a date with 2 separate girls, but neither of them were my type, so I didn't arrange for a second date with either. The first constantly talked about her ex and how much of a jerk she was. Obviously I can relate pretty hard, but it just gave me the impression that she hadn't moved on from him. After we'd finished our date, I walked her home and she offered for me to come inside and watch a movie with her. I declined and lied, saying I needed to go home and feed my cat. I don't even have a cat, and she seemed to buy it. I felt bad for turning her down and I hope she finds someone who'll treat her well. She seemed like a sweet girl, but she's just hung up on a toxic ex. The second girl was just painfully boring. She constantly talked about Love Island, I'm a Celeb and a few other shows I can't remember the name of. I faked an emergency just to get out of it because 5 minutes with this woman felt like several decades. Other than that, no bites, and that's fine. My counselor said that if using those sites feels like a chore, then I should stop using them, and it felt like a chore, so I stopped.